On tonight.
The stakes are high in Wisconsin.
Today's pivotal vote in the state of Wisconsin.
Big vote in Wisconsin. The results just an hour away. We'll have some exit polling and predictions.
Women seem to be under fire right now. What do you think will happen to women if a Republican gets in there, if Trump wins, God forbid?
Well, let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Liberal women will never vote for Donald Trump. But how about non-ideological ladies? Can he win them over? We'll take a hard look at that question.
I think that the FBI will recommend to the Justice Department that she be indicted.
Also ahead, Is It Legal will update us on the Hillary Clinton email FBI investigation. Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Big night for the Republican Party in particular. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So here I am on the election set. Very expensive as we await the vote tally from Wisconsin, with the polls close in less than an hour. Important night for the GOP. If Donald Trump wins, he will likely get the nomination. If he loses in Wisconsin, much longer nominating process will kick in and Ted Cruz will pick up some steam. Both Cruz and Trump have called for John Kasich to drop out no matter what happens tonight, but that is not likely to happen. Wall Street Journal editorial today says that Governor Kasich may bide his time until the convention in July, hoping he can win the nomination on delegates who defect after the first ballot. It's all very complicated, but if Trump does not get the 1,237 delegates needed, there will be a big fight in Cleveland, high noon drama. A non-scientific poll on BillO'Reilly.com asked, should John Kasich quit the race? 77% say yes, 23% no. Nearly 35,000 of you voted. But if you look at it from the governor's point of view, he thinks he has a chance if the controversial Trump and the ideological Cruz do not have the delegates to win the nomination outright. Similar situation on the Democrat side. Bernie Sanders hanging tough, knowing Hillary Clinton controls more delegates. But Mrs. Clinton has that FBI thing, that pesky thing, that Is It Legal will define for us a bit later on. If Hillary is indicted over the email deal, Sanders believes he can win the nomination, so why not hang on? The Trump campaign seems to understand that their guy has to broaden his base by being more specific. As Trump now says, he will stop Mexican nationals in the USA, both illegal and legal, from sending U.S. dollars back home if Mexico does not contribute billions to building a border wall. Another controversial plan, no doubt, but one that goes beyond the general statement that Mexico will pay for the wall. That I can tell you. American voters deserve specifics in a very important election, and it looks like the Trump campaign is responding to that. Now, we've asked Mr. Trump to appear with us tomorrow, and I hope he will be here. Summing up, Wisconsin matters, and we'll know what the voters think in less than 60 minutes. That's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, exit polling in the Badger State. With us, Martha McCallum with some data. What is the headlining from the exit polling?
Well, you're just talking about Donald Trump, and one of the big questions this week is how will he do with women? Obviously, it's been a tough category for him. He's had a number of setbacks. The Heidi Cruz retweet and all of that have been very, very much in the news. But when you take a look at how he's doing with women in Wisconsin, they're not budging. And that's not good news for Donald Trump. He's at 35% with women in Wisconsin. When you look at the other states and how he performed, North Carolina, he had 36% with women, Ohio 32, Illinois 35. So he's still in the same zone, Bill. And he needs to get creative. He needs to get aggressive in terms of turning those numbers around. He cannot win a general election without better numbers with women, and he's not making any territory.
And these
there.
are Republican women.
Exactly.
Not everybody. So we can't say, by the way, what the exit polling shows about who's going to win. I mean, we have to let the voters play out.
Exactly.
But the exit polling up until 8 o'clock Eastern time says that 35% of Wisconsin Republican women are supporting Trump. And then more, obviously, Cruz, right?
Exactly.
He's beating her.
Yeah,
him.
In that category he is. And you're right. We don't want to characterize who seems to be winning or losing. We can't really call it at this point because it's too close to call. But take a look at who's angry with the federal government. This has been a real Trump category. And in this one, 32% in Wisconsin say they're angry with the federal government. Now, scroll that forward to see how they voted. You've got 48% of those angry voters going for Ted Cruz tonight.
Wow.
And this raises an interesting question. You know, you have to ask yourself, is Ted Cruz becoming sort of a palatable alternative and a somewhat establishment figure for people who don't want to vote for Donald Trump? That's what we're seeing in some of these numbers in Wisconsin tonight. And when you look at preference for next president, it's kind of split in Wisconsin. People who want experience are at 46%. People who want an outsider at 41%.
And
so
they're
it's
not,
pretty much a draw.
well, who picked up this vote?
The experience goes to Cruz, which is interesting because, you know, think about that. That ought to be Kasich territory, right? I mean, Cruz has always been an
But I understand, and
outsider.
correct me if I'm wrong, that Kasich isn't running strong in Wisconsin at this juncture.
Not running strong in Wisconsin.
No.
But when you think about him and you think about the state of Wisconsin, which is fairly moderate, unemployment's lower in Wisconsin than it is in the rest of the nation, this ought to have been, and Kasich argued that it was a good state for him until
But
recent
he's not
weeks.
running
He
strong
said,
right now.
we're not going to worry
All
about
right,
Wisconsin.
so it's between Trump and Cruz. You say it's too close to call at this juncture, which is, you know, a good thing because we don't want to skew it, as I said. Now, as far as electability against the Democrat, does that matter in Wisconsin?
It's one of the lower priorities, but among those who want somebody who's electable, they are going towards Ted Cruz tonight. Now, I want to stress that that's not the most important candidate quality.
Yeah, that's well
It's
down
low,
the list.
Okay, but for people who are looking for electability, and these used to be voters who went for Marco Rubio, right? But now, think about that. These people are saying, well, maybe Cruz is the one who's electable.
And
that's
Wisconsin's a
significant for him.
swing state. It could go either way because they have a Republican governor, Walker, who has endorsed Cruz. What is the most important thing on Wisconsinites' mind as far as voting? What's the most important issue?
Economy, jobs.
The economy and jobs.
And we see that on both sides
Right.
of the fence. You know, we talk so much about things like immigration and terrorism. Those tend to fall fairly low. And, you know, when you look at the vote on the Democratic side, economy, jobs, 36% is the
Terrorism's
most important
9,
thing.
I saw.
Terrorism at 9%.
9? No, they're about, okay. Now, I'm going to give Martha another 30 seconds, so don't panic, okay? In the exit polling on Sanders, Clinton, anything jump out at you?
Well, Clinton is getting 73% of the black vote. That's very
Milwaukee,
consistent for
basically,
her.
Milwaukee.
Exactly, that's the Milwaukee part of the state.
Right.
Also, when you look at late deciders, they are bending towards Sanders at this point. We're going to get another wave of exit poll numbers, we should point out. But Sanders seems to be getting those who decided in the last 3 days and those who decided in the last week. And we know that Hillary Clinton has moved her focus
O'Reilly
towards
prediction.
New York.
Ready for O'Reilly prediction.
Ready for
That's a
O'Reilly
prediction. All right. And I predicted that the Mets would win the World Series. So, okay?
So keep that in mind.
All right. So I think Cruz is going to win.
Yeah.
All right. But I think it'll be close. And I think Sanders is going to beat Hillary by about 5 points. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right.
We'll see.
You know, Martha McCallum, everyone.
Better
Thank
on this
you.
one than the Mets.
Next on the rundown, women voters and Donald Trump. Can he win them over? Then later, Leslie Stahl on how the network news sees the Republican Party. Tavis Smiley on why black Americans are so locked into the Democrats. Up ahead. In back segment tonight, Donald Trump and the female vote. He will need more of it if he wants to be president. According to a recent Gallup poll, 70% of American women have an unfavorable view of Mr. Trump, 23% like him. Fox News poll has it 67% unfavorable, 30% favorable. Should be noted that women who describe themselves as Republicans support Mr. Trump more than Ted Cruz or John Kasich, according to most polls. Joining us now from Boston, Marianne Marsh, Democrat, here in New York City, Andrea Tantaro's co-host of Outnumbered. So, say Mr. Trump hired you as his female consultant. What would you tell him to do, first of all, to make himself more attractive to the female voter?
Well, he has to stop talking about women's looks. I mean, he got himself in a little bit of trouble when he went after Carly Fiorina. Now, it didn't affect him that much, but he needs to stay on the issues. He's got to stop going after Ted Cruz's wife, female journalist, one that we know at this news channel. He's got to stick to the issues. And you know, Bill, he started his campaign with a really powerful message, defending one woman who you've defended as well, and that's Katie Steinle when he talked about sanctuary cities. He also is a winner on the refugee issue. He does very well when he talks about Islamic terrorism, something this administration hasn't. It's something that I think he could be really powerful on if he expanded refugees and talking about radical Islam and how it threatens women's rights and what you see happening in
All right,
Europe.
so you say no personal stuff at all, right?
No,
just
and
stay away from it?
He's using Melania,
just go on
and
the
I think
issues.
that's a win for him. But Bill, every time he goes off message and starts talking about petty things, he loses. It's an uphill battle for him.
Right, because
but it's
women-
an uphill battle for any Republican.
Women process that differently than men.
Yeah, they don't want their looks analyzed and talked about and denigrated on national TV. No woman wants that.
Okay, Marianne, so you're advising him. He has to do something proactive. He just can't stop doing something. He has to start doing something. And what would that be?
I think his only chance is to sell his version of equal pay for women. And his version of it is if a woman does as good a job as a man, then she will get paid as much as he does. And the way to get traction on that is he has to show that the women he has hired in his business, because his reputation with voters is as a successful businessman, that he's hired women and paid them as much as men. Not anyone related to him or married to him, but if he's done that and he can prove it, then I think some women will give him a second look because he made a commitment. It's about meritocracy and fairness, and he can get some traction and some trust with some women voters. They'll give him a second look. It opens the door, and maybe he can move on from there to other issues. I agree with Andrea on everything else, but it is his only chance. Republicans will never win the women's vote. They will never get the majority of it, but he has to be
Why
have
is
a
that?
deficit.
Do you think Republicans won't get the majority of women to vote for them? Why?
Well, most women vote for Democrats because Democrats are better on the issues that women care about: economics, education, health care, all the issues that most women care
I know
about.
you're a Democrat, but look.
I am.
I know for the past 7 years, Barack Obama hasn't done much to improve the economy. And all you have to do is
he's put
look
everyone back to work.
Well, he might have put you back to work, but you're earning 20% less than you would have before he became president. So,
right.
yeah,
if
you want to take a job that doesn't pay much. But what I'm trying to get across is that there is a fallacy in play about women making more money under Democrat presidents. It's not true.
I didn't say that.
All right, because all you have to do
is
is compare Carter to Reagan.
No, I will tell Bill, the fact here is median incomes are only back to 1995 levels.
Right.
Barack Obama did a yeoman's job getting everyone back to work, but now they're only back to Clinton-like economic levels in terms of paychecks.
He really
That's the next
he
job
really
of the
didn't
next
do
president.
much for women or anybody else in the economic realm, in my opinion. All right, I
he
got
put him back to
I got
work.
30-second issues. If you were campaigning for the presidency, maybe someday you will be. What would you say? I'm a Republican and women should vote for me. Why? Just give me one.
Well, look, I don't think Republicans target women the way that Democrats do. Marianne is right. But they also don't try and placate women and try and marginalize women and victimize women the way that the left does. So I do agree with her on the equal pay issue. Republicans have to start talking about women's issues a little bit more. Equal pay is an opportunity, especially when the president doesn't pay his women as much as he pays his women.
I don't know if Sarah Palin recruited a lot of women last time around. Did she, Marianne? Did you ever study that?
She did not.
Recruit women?
No, and also people never vote for president based on vice president. But I remember Trump's version
but I mean, to
isn't
have
most
a woman
version.
like that, a high-profile woman on McCain's ticket, it should have attracted
Didn't help.
women. Okay,
It didn't.
ladies?
It didn't help.
Thank you. Directly ahead, can Trump and Cruz get a fair shot on the network news? We'll put that question to Leslie Stahl of CBS. Also, is it legal with an update on the Hillary Clinton FBI investigation? And that is moments away. Covering Presidents Carter, Reagan, and Bush the Elder. In fact, we use Ms. Stahl as a source on killing Reagan. She is out with her own book called Becoming Grandma, The Joys and Science of the New Grandparenting, which we'll get to in a moment. So, Trump, do you think he can get a fair shot on it? We're talking particularly about the network news morning programs. The evening programs are 22 minutes of reports. They can do a little dance, and I saw it with the Rather people, but not as much as they can do in the morning. Do you think the GOP can get a fair shot?
Here's what I think about reporters in general, and even the reporters here at Fox, that whoever the front runner is going to get the most scrutiny and the toughest press. And we've seen it. Remember what happened to Ted Kennedy? Remember that? When he was looking like he was going to be a successful presidential candidate, everybody went after him.
Against Carter.
And the minute his campaign collapsed,
they left
started to get so I think it's a front runner issue more than a
okay, let me tell you a story
issue.
about, I went on the CBS Morning News, and I liked that show. I mean, I think that gives very good information in the morning. And Rose, Charlie Rose, you know him, right?
Of course,
okay,
I've known him as long as you have.
He kind of slouches around the corridors over there. And he's the primary interviewer. And he was just appalled that Donald Trump was even in the game. Now, he put me in a position where I had to defend Trump in the sense that I had to say.
You didn't have to.
No, I did, because it wasn't fair. And I'm a fair and balanced guy, as you know.
Well,
and I had to say, look, you're missing Trump's primary appeal as reflecting the anger of the electorate. You may not like him, Charlie, but other people do, and you need to respect that. Now, this was early on, before a lot of the controversies. But the vibe coming off all of the CBS Morning News crew was, how can this Trump even be in the game? That's what was coming off.
Well, he's a front runner. And that's what I'm saying.
You think it was just because he's a front runner, or because they think he's a vulgarian?
Well, maybe both.
I don't think there's a maybe about it, because you know.
Well, there might be a maybe about it.
You think so?
Well, I do. I think the front runner gets extra trouble.
What if a
all the way
tech
around.
in the CBS cafeteria, and I've eaten there many times, wore a Make America Great Again hat going in for lunch? Don't you think he would get a little scrutiny?
Have you invited me on to keep insisting that we're unfair and unbalanced? Is that the reason? Come on.
No, it's not the reason, but I do believe
actually.
that you guys look askance. How about that? Word of the day, askance. At Republican candidates and a guy like Trump, more than a Hillary Clinton.
But I think you guys tilt to Republican candidates. So
do you really?
I don't.
No, that's fascinating. Which Republican candidate on the Fox News channel do you believe that we favor?
Oh, well, I think you like Trump.
You think I like him?
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten with the man?
Is he a vulgarian?
No, I would never call him that.
We're going to get to my book.
Yes, we are. But I know you're making you uncomfortable, but this is a very important issue. It really is, because this is a very important election.
I don't feel that uncomfortable, because I really believe what I'm telling you, which is that the front runner is going to get the toughest press, and it's innate in journalism that we do that. It's just part of the DNA.
Okay. I'm interested about the science of the new grandparenting. I mean, it's nice that you're a grandma, and we love grandmas here.
I hope so. You know, all the candidates are grandparents.
I know that.
Well, all the front runners.
And, you know, I remember my grandparents, Irish on both sides, and I loved them when I was a little kid. You know, they were great. They gave me money. They bought my affection.
That's what grandparents do.
But this thing, science, that caught my attention in the title. What's the science?
Well, you know, I wrote it because I was having such a physical reaction to my the first one and the second one, that I didn't understand what was happening inside me. And I discovered that there's a biochemistry to being a grandmother, as there is to being a mother. You actually change. You get a little rewired. And
give me a specific example of how you changed.
Oh, my goodness, enormously. Physically, it's just hugging them creates all kinds of chemicals in your body that make you feel good. So it's
so
an
you
actual
experienced more joy.
Beyond, yes, beyond anything anybody could ever have explained to me.
Even more than
before.
when you were a mom?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've changed because I have a new purpose, a new meaning.
Which is?
To help take care of my grandchild and to help make sure that they're nourished and happy. You say we, all grandparents today, are giving our children stuff for the grandchildren.
Right.
We're spending 7 times more on grandchildren today than we did just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're paying for their medical bills.
It's the boomers. The boomers are really affected by this. Well,
our children are having a difficult time. They're both working.
Yeah,
they're earning less than we did.
Yeah.
And they need
it's a struggle to live in an affluent way now, and it's
exactly.
All right, the book is Becoming Grandma, Lesley Stahl. You can see how emotional she got it just by talking about it. It is an emotional book, and I'm sorry I give you a hard time, but I give everybody a hard time.
I love you giving me a hard time.
Oh yeah, you do, sure.
I do.
And say hello to Rose. Tell them to stop slouching. Plenty more ahead as a factor moves along this evening. Why don't African Americans give the Republican Party a look? We'll put that question to Tavis Smiley. But next, is it legal on whether the reporter who said she was roughed up by Trump's campaign manager has a credibility problem? We hope you stay tuned for those reports. This is a legal segment tonight. 2 hot topics, beginning with the FBI's investigation of Hillary Clinton's email situation.
Comey's FBI team has been joined by Justice Department prosecutors. Together, they are now examining the evidence, analyzing relevant laws, and attempting to arrange interviews with key figures in the investigation. Those interviews, according to attorneys, will include former State Department aides Philippe Reines, former Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills, and Clinton herself.
Now, Secretary Clinton says she has not been asked by the FBI for a sit-down, but is available. With us here in New York City, Kimberly Guilfoyle and Lise Wheels. So can you advance the story, Will?
Absolutely. Clinton has been saying since Sunday that she's not been asked, as if that's a big deal, as if the FBI has to come to her and ask her, hey, please, Mrs. Clinton, will you interview us before we indict you? She doesn't have to be interviewed by the FBI. The way it works is the FBI gives over their information to the prosecutor brings it to the grand jury decides whether or not to indict her. And the grand jury, if they do indict her...
Okay, so let me...
The inference is she has to be
The person who is under investigation doesn't have to be interviewed.
Of course not.
But
she makes it sound like
the
it's a
guy
big
on Al
deal.
Jazeera, which is bankrupt, by the way, Al Jazeera went out.
Right.
He said flat out that Hillary Clinton, Guilfoyle, is going to be interviewed.
Well, if they had such compelling and trustworthy news, they'd still be in business, perhaps. I don't think that there's right now sufficient evidence to support them. What you've been seeing is specific leaks coming out from different sides that all have political agendas. So you have to be very careful about what you hear, what you listen to before you make those determinations. What we do know is what Comey has said, that he wants to be able to do this investigation well and promptly with an emphasis on well.
Now, Napolitano, you know the judge, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
You know, he's a little guy, kind of takes the elevator up and down most of the day.
Come on, he's great.
Oh my God.
He says flat out that the FBI is going to recommend indictment. Do you guys believe that?
He may be
Do
right.
you guys? No.
Don't.
Do you believe it?
We love the judge, so whatever the judge says, I
All
believe.
right, that means that Will doesn't believe it. Do you believe it?
I love the judge, but I personally believe, in fact, that they should indict. I'm not confident that, in fact, it will happen, but I believe in Comey to follow
He flat
justice.
out said
that
that's what's going to happen. All right, so we'll leave it there. Now, this young reporter, Michelle Fields, who we've had on The Factor, she's embroiled with this controversy with Corey Lewandowski, who is the Trump head manager of his campaign. And Mr. Lewandowski has been arrested. However, there's doubts about Ms. Fields' account. And this caught my eye on Chris Wallace's program, Roland.
Then when she wrote out early on, before she knew she was on tape, that she was practically thrown to the ground. I mean, I wish I had it here. I'd read her statement.
I know what she said.
That didn't happen. Okay?
I
Do you agree with that?
I agree with you.
Okay.
But why not just
excuse me, Chris.
apologize?
No, but she lied. Do you agree that she lied?
I think she completely misrepresented it early on. I do.
Okay, so when you got a guy like Chris Wallace, it's pretty fair. I mean, he's not going to pander to anybody. He says that the woman misled what happened to her. And now I'm not going to make that statement because I've seen the tape and all of that, but when you see tape from a distance and it's a distant shot, you don't really know.
Right. It's one form of evidence.
Right, but let's assume that she wasn't accurate, Ms. Fields wasn't totally accurate. Does that blow up this whole case?
Well, listen, if it went to a trial, it comes down to the credibility of witnesses, and there's a variety of different avenues.
But they'll blow that tape up, you know.
Sure, they can put the tape, but there's also people who are called percipient or eyewitnesses who were there, perhaps saw it at a different angle as well. But sure, any statement you make, you can be cross-examined and you could be impeached with it if you make a inconsistent statement with your initial statement.
Now, he's been arrested, but he hasn't been charged yet, right, Lewandowski?
No, he's been charged
with simple battery.
Simple battery. The element for that, though, is only
And who charged him? Where is it? Where is this? In Maryland?
It's in Florida. It's in Florida.
In Florida.
Yes,
Jupiter and
yeah, but the element is only intentional touching or striking. She says, though, she was yanked and nearly fell. Those are her exact words.
And we don't see that on the tape,
But we don't have to see
You don't
that.
see
it's
it,
only
no.
an intentional touching.
But it's a simple battery. So if I go and I grab you and you say it's this...
That's enough.
She doesn't so, but it hurts her credibility, as Kimberly's saying. Absolutely. The other thing that is really going to be called in, as a defense would do on cross-examination, is she said, not only did she say intentional yanking and you're falling, but she then talks about her bruising. Why does she wait 3 days?
All right, I can't answer any of these questions,
Those
and
are
it
the
wouldn't be
questions
fair
that
for
will
me
be
to
asked.
do it.
Those are the
But this is the point I want to make.
Yeah.
If the Jupiter authorities, and it's a town beef, it's a local beef,
right?
okay?
Next court date, May 4th, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
Right. They could drop this case,
Absolutely,
right? They could drop it at any time. Right. So it's really not fair to Mr. Lewandowski to convict him of anything.
Of course not. in charge.
But I don't think we should be trying anything on TV. But
I agree with
that
you.
Wallace-Trump exchange caught my
Yeah, we have to let both sides have their day.
Ladies, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next up, can Trump, Cruz, or Kasich get African Americans to even consider them? Tavis Smiley on that. Moments away. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, the minority vote. 2012, Mitt Romney captured 6% of the black vote. President Obama, 93%. That's a huge advantage for the Democrats, obviously. Writing in USA Today on March 3rd, Tavis Smiley said, quote, "If Donald Trump is indeed the Republican nominee, it might be a miscalculation for Democrats to take for granted that black voters are a lock for their nominee," unquote. Mr. Smiley, the author of a brand new book called 50 for Your Future, Lessons from Down the Road. He joins us now. So I was surprised when I read your USA Today column. I know you're no fan of Mr. Trump.
Nope.
But why do you think that blacks would give him Mr. Trump or Ted Cruz or John Kasich a look?
A couple of things. One, I'm tired of black folk being taken for granted by one party, being ignored by the other party, number one. Number two, I did write that in fairness before Donald Trump just completely lost his mind and became the sort of racial arsonist at setting fires everywhere he goes.
What you called him a racial arsonist on your show and just repeated that. What comment set you off? What did he say?
You're off the air at 8:50. You ain't got enough time for me to run the list of all. Oh, come on, Bill.
Just give me one.
You're wasting good television time, Bill. His anti-immigrant stance, his anti-Muslim stance, his maltreating and that of his supporters, the maltreating of African Americans in the audiences at these ralies. Don't ask a silly question. You know better.
It's not silly.
It is silly.
If you look at the context, if you look at the context of, and I'm not defending Donald Trump's policies, the folks can decide that. But if you look at the context of protecting American from a flood of immigrants that come in here illegally, and also Muslim refugees who are not vetted very well, as the FBI director said he couldn't do. It's not an attack on a race that he's doing. It's a policy. It's hard. It's harsh, but it's policy.
It's not just harsh, Bill. He's painting with a broad brush. And it has the tone of xenophobia with it when he does that. If I were going to take Dylan Roof, the unrepentant Dylan Roof, who walked into that black church in South Carolina, and use that example to paint every white male in America, you wouldn't like that. And that's what Donald Trump does with Muslims with Hispanics.
But there wouldn't be any policy around Dylan Roof. What I'm disturbed at when you say
I hate crime is against the law. That is a policy, Bill.
But there isn't a policy that connects to the nation. When you use the word racial arsonist, okay, that conjures up to me David Duke and these kinds of people who their sole reason for being is to run down blacks or Hispanics or Muslims or whatever.
And it took Mr. Trump
He's not that way.
It took Mr. Trump too long to come around to denouncing David
Travis,
Duke and others when they came out to support and the robocalls.
You make mistakes, and so do I. That doesn't mean...
Bill, that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. Listen, you live your life...
I've known the man for a long time. I've never seen him do anything racial.
You live your life by a certain set of immutable principles. I live my life by a certain set of immutable principles. And when you live your life by a certain set of principles, there are some mistakes you just don't make. It's fundamentally who you are. And this election is fundamentally about what kind of nation we're going to be.
All I can tell you is I've known the man a long time, and I've never seen him cast aspersions at any group at all.
You might not have seen it, but the rest of the country has during this
campaign. I've been around him much more than the rest of the country.
Here's the problem. We're watching one Donald Trump on the news every day. We watch him live on network television every day. And everybody who knows Donald Trump keeps saying to me and to all your viewers, but that ain't the Donald I know. Well, which Donald
I don't know whether...
Who's the real Donald? Will the real Donald stand up?
I can't answer the question. I can just tell you what I know.
Should we elect someone who we think we know but really don't know?
That is what they asked about Barack Obama. And the exact question.
The difference was this. The difference was that Barack Obama campaigned to all of America. I think that any person who does not campaign to all of America ought to be automatically dismissed and disqualified.
Okay, but that's
you want to be president for the entire... No, it's not my opinion.
Sure it is.
Okay, back up. It is my opinion,
right,
but it ought to be yours. And here's my point. If you want to be president of the entire...
I'm not involved in divisive...
Yeah.
All right, and I
campaign to the entire country.
I challenge everybody.
Not one slice of it.
Okay, but you know, if you want to have that standard of behavior, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are divisive as well. They're not campaigning for pro-life people. They don't respect pro-life people. And that's just one example. I give you 1,000.
Trump has his opinions. They have their opinions. I'm not talking about opinions.
Yeah,
what
but you're talking about you don't want to be divisive.
I'm talking about running a segregated campaign. If you want to be president of the entire country,
Trump
then
would
you
tell
want to campaign to everybody.
Trump would tell you he wants Hispanic votes and he wants black votes.
They will say that, but is Ted Cruz campaigned in Black America? Has he campaigned in Hispanic America?
He is Hispanic.
Exactly.
He's a Cuban.
But has he gone after the Hispanic vote with a real policy program?
Of course Again, I'm not on their campaign teams, but when I see them saying we want a good economy,
that's for everyone. That's talk. That's talk.
We're running out of time, and I don't want to because you have a good book. All right, it's 50 for your future. It's lessons. In this book, you say that, and we only is a short answer,
sure.
And I'll get if you want to come back because we spent a lot of time on this.
Sure.
You say to people, look, if you have a certain philosophy of life and somebody is intruding on that, making you feel bad, walk away. Right? That's one of your lessons here in this book.
I'm not sure I put it quite like that.
Well, that's the essence of it. If it's somebody's really taking you away from your life experience.
What I'm arguing is you got to be your authentic self and live your life on your own terms. You can't transcend who you are for the sake of pleasing other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this book is basically a philosophy, and again, I owe you a segment on it, a philosophy about how to be happy.
How to live a better life.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tavis, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And an update on the Wisconsin vote after these messages.
This is Joanne. Her long day as a hairstylist starts with shoulder pain when, hey Joanne, want to trade the all-day relief of 2 Aleve with 6 Tylenol?
Give up my 2 Aleve for 6 Tylenol? No thanks. For me, it's Aleve.
Guys, how's the pool?
Built for families, designed for drivers. Introducing the new QX60 from Infiniti.
Don't let dust and allergies get between you and life's beautiful moments. With Flonase Allergy Relief, they won't. Most allergy pills only control 1 inflammatory substance. Flonase controls 6, and 6 is greater than 1. Flonase changes everything.
Tonight, after the Factor, a special Kelly File. It's Wisconsin coverage you won't get anywhere else with a powerful lineup breaking down the primary. Don't miss the Kelly File.
You lived through these years. You know what will happen.
I know when the rising begins.
And it doesn't end well.
Unless we stop it from happening altogether.
Change the future. Is such a thing even possible?
Since when were you not up for a challenge?
You're new.
I am.
Ex-military? You work with computers?
Networks. It's classified, sir.
Let's cut to the chase here.
Porous.
Porous?
The old solutions aren't working. The world has changed.
Meaning?
It's not just security. It's defense.
It's not just security. It's defense. BAE Systems.
Did you ever think that as quick as you could ask a question, you could get an answer? Or that we could go somewhere in a car and no one would need to drive it? Or that with a limb made in a 3D printer, a soldier can continue to serve his country? Think about the incredible things we've been able to do. Now think about what we need to do. We need to cure cancer. Pearl has a system of doctors and researchers who are developing new treatments and clinical trials for our patients. We believe we can cure cancer, and we can cure it in our lifetime.
No mail or tip today because the election folks are demanding that I get off the air, which I will in a few seconds. Now, tomorrow we are efforting Donald Trump. Efforting is a news term. We'll also have, we don't have to effort these guys, they have to come on. Miller, Gutfeld, McGurk, plus analysis of what happens tonight in Wisconsin. Also, we hope you check out BillO'Reilly.com for the latest political information 24/7. Word of the day, no crassitude when writing to The Factor, which you can do. Not crassitude, but you can write to us by sending us an email, O'Reilly@FoxNews.com, O'Reilly@FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Thanks again for watching The Factor this evening. I am Bill O'Reilly. As always, the spin stops here in the election zone because we are always looking out for you. Here now, in person, Megyn Kelly and Bret Baier.